I couldn't wait.
Ooh, that was different.
I couldn't even get through that. Oh no.
Push the button, Max.
Yeah, exactly. So hello everybody, and kia ora, and welcome to another round of Roughshod Ramblings. This time it is Spontaneous Combustion.
Yes.
We just decided out of the blue we're just going to combust these topics. So welcome again, and Ulrich, introduce yourself.
Yep, that'd be me.
Here we go.
Yeah, this has been kind of a topic on and off for us, but when we always end up saying, "I was like, oh, we could have talked about this, and you end up taking your shoes off because you run out of digits. There just seems to be a lot, and one of the most important things to remember is to not make up your mind, right? So dang skippy quick, keep an open mind and look at all the facets of what is being put in front of us, and make up your own mind. Period. End of story. Yeah. Well, maybe not the end of the story, but sequel will be coming very soon.
Yeah. Well. So last night, once we got off the show with Stephen from BJ Cast, gotta go check him out. We're gonna appear on a show again, and I just couldn't stop thinking about, okay, there's all these different speculations of what 3i Atlas is. I'm still hearing people out there saying AI Atlas.
Yeah.
And I have to think, three first. So I'm also looking at this as, is this the next Mandela that they're going to play out, in the future?
Predictive programming.
Yeah.
So it's predictive programming when they're coming up with something that is being fostered. It's not accurate, but it's still being fostered. So if you think about the difference of what they are saying, but what they're pushing, and what they're pushing is this AI. What does that tell you that we're looking at? No matter whose angle, whoever's facet is pulling this through, what is it that we're looking at?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's in the words, it's in the title. They've got to tell you exactly what's going on, and it's right there. And I sort of feel like this is it's kind of like you said, a big red herring. It's another red flag that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I want to break it down. All the avenues. I think it's better that we, like you said, we look at this with an open mind, but not so open that your brains fall out. But allow yourself also, if you do get it wrong, like at the start, what is it? It's a space turd. As far as I'm concerned, it still is a space turd. But I'm hoping eventually the truth of what it is going to be revealed. I've looked at the warfare side of it, the psychological aspects, if they were different beings coming in, the psychological sides and effects it's having on us, not just, from the hearsay, the speculations, the videos that are coming out, what we're seeing. Our eyes are deceiving us right in front of us. I'm looking at this massive screen that's going on out there, and whatever we're seeing out there, there's air traffic, there's satellites, and this is another part of the topic. What are satellites? What are their true capabilities? You're not allowed to know that stuff. You don't have the dollars or the qualifications. But, come on, when you've got a whole lot surrounding this whole planet, and every country's doing it, so we've got space wars. So I'm looking forward to breaking this down. Yeah. So where do you want to start? I think we already basically have.
Well, yeah, kind of springboarding from the idea of not making up your mind. It's also about not making assumptions about the things that you're being told, irrespective of what platform you're on. You know what I mean? I mean, that to me kind of makes a little bit more sense because we can still jump to conclusions and, well, if they're saying it's this, and then you kind of lay out a scenario in your own head, but that may or may not be what's going to play out.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of be careful with the information. And there's a lot of indoctrination as to what you described as what is a satellite. There are a lot of theories out there that they don't exist. There's a reason why that there are things that are put up and then come down. And there's this constant, the biggest purchaser of these weather balloons are, I believe, from the Never a Straight Answer group.
Yeah.
So they're the ones who are putting that stuff up there to check, and they're, oh, well, it's just to check the weather. And it's like, really? They're the one manipulating it.
Yeah.
They're part and parcel of that. That's their brother, cousin, uncle sort of thing. They know what's going on. They know what is going to be. And if they need something to happen, there's a lot of coordination, cooperation, and collusion
Oh,
is
yeah.
probably the biggest thing because it keeps it under wraps from the masses. So, and there are a lot of people outside of who are probably going to be seeing this when we shortly post it or are live with it that aren't even close to realizing the, and it's not French, it's flat out shit and shenanigans that's going
Yeah.
on. And yeah, they say what it is, but they aren't telling you the disclosure aspect of it. So it's like giving consent without informed consent, two different things.
Yeah.
So this is what we have to kind of grab by the gonads and make sure that we do our, it's a pain in the ass, but you got to do your own research. You got to figure it out for yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
So you did have a huge list.
I do have a huge list. I basically want to start like, okay, let's look at it as a comet. Okay, let's look at the the actions of a comet. Comet would be crashing into stuff. It wouldn't be slowing down. It wouldn't be speeding up. It would be burning out eventually. It may even take on a spin at some location. This is not acting like a rock flying through space with fire on it, okay? And if it was, looking at the speed of it, what blew up? What blew up to push it out through space like that? Then I go into, okay, if it's a ET ship, okay, off-worlders coming in, then I have to go into the psychological side of it. Okay, so I'm not looking at the actual ship just at this particular time, but the psychology behind it, knowing that they're coming into a space area where it's inhabited. Now, for all the conversations we've had with SSP and everybody else, and myself included, having experiences with different dimensional beings from different planets and dimensions, I have to look at why are they not making more contact? Why is there not more signals going on and information coming in? Like, we would be absolutely being hammered right now if we have a connection with any of these beings. From my personal experiences, I just have to think about them, and then I'm starting to have conversations with them. I can hear them. I know they're going to come in and have a full-on conversation. So if it happened to be them, and yes, I am asking them, what do you know about this thing that's, the space turd that's flying through space? And no answers yet. I just got to go with what I'm feeling, and I really feel like it's part of a bigger distraction. because there are so many things happening down here on planet Earth. Now, this is all to do with the psychological aspect. It's division, it's distraction, and you know, when you're over here constantly, I look at the technology that is available out there to mimic every one of our senses. So, and we are aware of the satellites and the projection off. We're also aware of the possibilities of living inside a dome. We're also aware of the chemical cocktails these planes spit out, creating a screen for the whole world. So when you slam all of that together, it's going to affect the senses. When we start seeing UFOs flying constantly above our heads, we start seeing, you know, battles taking place and this sort of thing. I'm watching people freaking out at these orange plasma spheres. I'm looking at what we have seen regularly down here on planet Earth, Gaia. You know, these beings that I've encountered down here, I have not seen them or heard of them doing any ill will or harm to anybody. And we have to come into a discernment of being able to know what is fake and what is real. This means recognizing our emotions when they get triggered or targeted, because we are empaths, and this is what we are being triggered with. This is what they're hammering us with. There are so many disruptions. The shift at the moment is there is a major influence going on in everybody's family unit. What you call your family, there is something going down in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And the way
all of us,
every group.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
how crazy is that?
But we have to be able to recognize it for what it was. A few of us saw it coming in because we had experienced a couple of hits. But then we're like, okay, we're a little bit more, you know, battle worthy now, battle ready. We've experienced it. We know what these energies look like and feel like, and the directions they come from. You know, yeah, it's like it's crazy times. They are doing what they can to hit us where our emotional vulnerabilities are. So we have to be careful with, when you're getting into new relationships, when you are giving your heart to someone, or when there's grief and something around, that you don't end up, because of the grief, going into relationships you didn't beforehand. All right, there's reasons you did what you did to be where we're at right now. Don't forget them. Take a look at them. We don't want to get sucked back into those voids. And I feel like all this triggering and stuff that's going on at the moment, it's emotional. And they will target one person for the whole ripple effect for the whole lot to feel it. All right. When you can recognize it, you can say, hey, no, I don't have to participate in this. I don't need to put myself through this. And it doesn't matter what they say about you if you choose not to participate. See, a big problem that we have on this planet is not being aware of the levels of our participation in somebody else's life and somebody else's environment. And if we can't take respect and have respect and for ourselves in those actions as moral compass, then we're not going to know it when it's standing right in front of us. We're not going to recognize the changes when it's right there. Right now is like there's massive impacts going on. Stay calm. If you can stay calm, then the chemicals are not going to get all screwy up inside here, and you're going to think clearly. Right? That is the goal, is to think clearly. Become that investigator. Look at everything that is showing itself. Like the space turd. Okay, we are so creative with our energies that we're all thinking that it's going to be A, B, or C. That's what we're going to create. That's what we're going to create. And with the whole division aspect of it, we're all going to start seeing different things at different times. But this is the psychological aspect. They're aware of this. They know how to do these things to us. Because of our own personal divisions, we choose not to share the information that we see or experience. But when we start doing that, these other guys that have created all these scenarios and played along with it, whether they're puppets or whatever, they're starting to run. They're starting to show their true colors. They're getting out of Dodge. They're hiding. They're going underground. Have a look around you. See how many people are just suddenly gone, vanishing overnight. You know, how many shops are closing up overnight? Gone. Just like that.
Well, a lot of the things that you're talking about as far as making these emotional decisions, I think that and then presenting some of these things that can be very triggering because it hits on a lot of unresolved maybe fears, lack of control, which is like big right now. But the thing is that I know that there was a Mercury, hi Jay. Mercury is going to be in retrograde November 9th. From what I understand, though, that we have been in the shadow for about 2 weeks prior to that date. Typically, I think people think of Mercury retrograde as something that is technologically based, which it is. So it can affect how many disruptions have we had. So it starts early. Now, the other aspect of it is it's not just the technology, it also affects communication.
Oh, yes.
So when I can attest to that, when somebody is sending me a message that I'm trying to connect to them, right? And I mentioned to Stone earlier, I said, hey, we were supposed to start earlier to kind of connect and figure things out. And I had somebody else who was trying to connect to me. I was like, I don't understand what's going on. We got disconnected like 3 times. So that is kind of part of it, but it's not necessarily the technology. It's also emotionally based. We're going to be pressed within our okay, so what does it say? Amplifies emotional intensity and the need for thoughtful conversations with close relationships. It's gonna want to have these conversations, but the technology is gonna get in our way. So I guess the thing is, if you really want these connections, regardless of who or what it's with, you have to make the effort to make that happen, to see that happen. And I think we talked about last night, without judgment. You kind of just take things for what they are and kind of let it go. And this is going to last. It's going to last until like the end of November. But again, leaving this sort of intensity is going to have a shadow of another 2 weeks. Now, I don't know a lot about the astrological aspects and the energetic influences that these different creations have. I'll just kind of leave it at that because you can go in a whole bunch of tangent directions with that. But this is about, and it's great to do self work, but we also have to realize that we need to connect to other people that are important to us.
Yeah.
Stone fell off a couple of times. It's like, what the hey, man? And I could get, oh, this is so unprofessional. I'm not gonna connect with that wench anymore. You could really get seriously. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's not me. That's not my personality. That's just not my way, irrespective of whether there's a retrograde or not. That's just not part of my character.
Yeah.
You just can't say that it's going to be easy.
Yeah, you can't.
It's freaking not. It'll be great for us to be able to figure this all out. But it is going to amplify emotional intensity, and I don't think it has to be with close relationships. It's, you're not talking about somebody you're living with. It's going to be somebody at work.
Yeah.
Somebody you work with a lot. It's not necessarily you're close to them, but you work with them a lot.
it's almost it's like we're being tested to see how we handle it, communication skills wise. It's like, okay, something is going to be communicating through me, but I need to be able to know what I'm capable of doing. Well, I pretty much know you can drop me in any kind of situation and I'm going to work something out. Because this is what we got to do. These are our abilities. So this is the thing, they're triggering us on all aspects. A lot of people's abilities are kicking in, because the whole, I was asked, what do I think the veil is? The veil is shifted. The shifting of the veil, for me happened when I changed my perception of what the veil was. It was just another layer trying to hold me back from me being who I can be, the best version of me. So that veil's gone. I don't need it. That's somebody else's concept. When we start taking responsibility for the participation that we have in it, what do you want from this? What are the superpowers you want? What are the beings you want to communicate with? If you can't communicate with your inner self, you can't communicate with those around you, and it's not easy. It's not easy because through the whole process of communication, we've got to go through, can we trust somebody, yes or no? We have our moral codes. We go, this is professional. This is what we call professional, is like following the 10 commandments and making sure that every aspect is covered. If the technology is going to keep cracking on us and it's like, no, we can't go forward, this is not professional, it's not necessarily that person's fault. Just recently, we redirected somebody off the property because we didn't know who he was, we didn't know what he wanted, we didn't know where he came from. He wasn't making any coherent sense to us at the time. So I asked him to leave. And when he got to the bottom of the driveway, turned around and said, I re-questioned him. Who are you? Why are you here? What are you here? Who are you here to meet? And then, once that had been worked out, I was able to redirect them to another driveway. I stepped back, thought everything was all good. Next minute, I get this nasty as email that comes to me saying, you can't do this, you can't do that, you were rude to da-da-da-da. Like, what the hell? Where did that come from? Instead of, jumping in and reacting back and saying something that I might regret later on, and I do this regularly, or it reminded me of this the other day as well. Take that time that you need. Write it down, keep a record. I have paper records everywhere. Emails are records. Text messages are records. Eventually, enough of these records will come together, show themselves, and have a commonality. And I know a lot of different scenarios that are going on out there right now with the same situation. All right. Everybody's circle has it. It comes back to one person's ability not to be able to communicate properly. Everybody has these agendas. When you get into a relationship with someone, you go, okay, 50-50, this is the rules, this is what I call respect, these are the boundaries, what are yours, da-da-da. It gets nutted out right at the start. What is it you want to achieve while you're here, da-da-da-da-da. What can I do to help you? And then you go from that. And as soon as it starts to fall down, if there's not that form of communication, it's going to crumble. It's going to turn to shit. People ask about long-term relationships. You've got to put the work in. And you've got to pick a time when, like once a week, if need be, you sit down around a bonfire or something of the sort, light a candle. I've said this in past shows. And you nut that shit out so it's gone. All right, so you re-clarify where you're at so you can move forward. Okay, what is it?
It's like a spiritual enema. Knock it out, right? Uh, something that you had mentioned earlier about when you started going through your bullet point list, the comment characteristics, where the image is coming from, is my question. So a lot of times we make these assumptions as that they have these powerful telescopes. Do they really?
Yeah.
I'll circle back to that in a hot second. And then, but let's be careful of the answers that we are receiving also, even if they're coming in directly into our head. We think, because there's a lot of influences that we have to have that discernment. There's the D word, between what's being fed to us and whatever it is that we're really pushing all that other crap out and saying, okay, what is it? And
Yeah.
it's not necessarily something that we're looking for, something that's going to make us feel comfortable. But the idea of the images coming in towards us, what did I say I was going to circle around to from that?
I don't know. I forgot.
Okay. Dang, that's kind of rough.
I
But
had a but and I was I got distracted. I was reading some of the lovely messages in the room.
yeah. I mean, I guess the idea is that where are those images coming from?
Yeah.
And having that discernment for where it is that we're picking those ideas up, and where it starts to get a little more tricky
Yeah.
is the ideas that we've already assimilated. And there's something also called an intrinsic bias. And that's something that you're not aware of.
Yeah.
That's the really hard part. And this is where we need each other. And this is where we need to have that grace, that awareness, that grace with other people. And, you know, I think there was something you said, yeah, NASA, never a straight answer.
Yeah. Never answer.
But there was something that you had said earlier. I mean, when we were just chatting about some of this stuff, about how we were supposed to, you know, have hope.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's my hope. And it's like, I heard, as soon as I heard Joe Dispenza say hope is a beggar, it's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
That is sidelining our power to realize that we already have that.
Yeah.
Not hope. We have whatever it is that we're hoping for. It's here. Yeah. It's now. And again, that word that was used last night was embody.
Yeah.
And what embody from a practical sense means is feeling that.
Yeah.
Sensing that within your core, the core of your being. And giving your power over to what we're being fed through whatever the media source, whether it's a comet, whether it's this thing that they're calling, you know, okay, we'll just call it a space poo. Space poo. I don't like the word turd. I'm going to use space poo. SP. Or it's a space poo. That's actually where we have to be careful, because, you know, I take a back to that. I don't care who says it. Even if I get the idea in my head, that's why I keep that old phone on me that's never connected to the internet, and I can dictate into that thing, and I can say whatever I want. Now, my car might be hearing, the other phone might be hearing, but I don't care. I'm dictating into that phone, and I can look back on it and go, okay, that makes a little more sense, and I can clean it up and just kind of bring it.
Yeah.
Just bring it.
Well,
I think that's important, and everybody kind of needs to have that within their own little niche of whatever they're going through, whether it's family, friends, work, neighbor, dog. I don't care who it is, who or what it is. Goat, in your case. Let's be careful with the goat, because it can be a really shitty situation, right?
Fight me. Anyway, yes, don't get a goat. They're too adorable. You know, with this whole thing, is like, yeah, you've got to be able to see what's going on around you, because listen to your inner voice, listen to your feeling states, your instincts, you know, and allow yourself that, okay, if you turn around and say, okay, it's a spacecraft with 500 million reptilians, whatever it is that you you turn around and see it as there, it's like these illusions that these being in communication with some of these encounters I've had with the Greys and some of the other beings, some of the abilities that they have, the technology that they have is able to create illusions, shapeshifters, illusions, feeling states, feeling like you're really, something's there, you've got your heebie-jeebies up, it's giving you some internal, crampings going on, you're going through a, almost like a psychic attack of a panic attack. You're having a panic attack, but you don't know why because you can't see what's around you, but something's there. Your body's telling you something else. There's that is happening, and these are some of the senses we need to listen to. What else is around us? We're not alone. We haven't been alone forever. Now, with this thing parking up behind the sun, what's happening behind the sun? Well, there's been the psychological aspect of it is they've given you a scenario. They've planted the seed that it's possibly parked up behind the sun. It's possibly slowed down. It's changed color. It's dropped out these ships that are going to come down here. They're sending them to Mars. They're sending them everywhere else. Okay, now, with all of that distraction and everything else is going on and you're paying all of that attention to it, what's happening inside your system? What triggers are going on inside your system? How many people have been sort of plugged into the jungle juice? You all know what I mean there. Before that happened, before all of that scenario happened, 2010, I was saying after watching a whole fleet of them go across the sky, I was at a Guy Fawkes party, which is really weird because it's only a few days away. And maybe that's information coming in telling me I better watch out. There's no coincidences. And I said, who are they taking? Who are they taking? They're taking someone. And then I went for a drive in a truck with a total stranger, and there were people walking in the street, because it's just something I did back in the day. And I took some photos of people in full hazmats. And then about not even 6 months later, this whole jungle juice thingy came out, and I'm like, wow, there was a clock in the photo I took and everything. So I already had the information. We already are aware of the information. Now, if we're multidimensional, as I believe we are, and our dimensions can be hijacked, we can have information implanted in those areas, and go, oh, I can see the future. This is what's happening in my future. Now, where did that come from? How do I know this? We run around in parallel, multi-dimensions and universes all the time. So when we go, okay, anything is possible, that's the first thing I accept, is that anything is possible. When they turn around, hey, Cosmic Voice, when they turn around and they say to you, anything you do and say can and will be used against you. Oh, line up, give me your blood. Line up, give me your swab. I want your DNA, okay? Working in that field, I would have to, this is before this happened, I would have to swab in and out, around, under the arms, take hair follicles because of the job that I had. And they would take, it wasn't just the DNA, the sequencing, it was also what's going on inside this person's body. That was experimental. That all of that data was collected and went to a bigger computer that was able to turn around and say, well, this is how vulnerable the human species really is. What changes do you want to make while we can? All of this sort of thing. I turn around at that party, basically, people were going to be tagged and bagged. And I came up with a theory, and this might sound really crazy, but here we go. So the jungle juice comes out, you got your tracker inside you, the harvest comes in, and whoever has bought such and such a chattel, okay, goes to that ship, right? So there's what companies can we name? We can't, but you know who I'm saying. There's a whole several bunch of them. But when you put them all together, they all come down to one basic bloodline. Okay? It's about what information they can take from you. Everything we do and say is collected. They want to put meters on our, instead of calling them power meters or smart meters, they're going to be shitbox meters. All right? They want to measure how much waste comes from your house each day. They want to make sure that we're put into cramped living conditions. They, look at the way we are treated on our own planet. Look at who's treating us like this. Right now, I'm seeing this whole planet, Gaia just burst apart at the seams, literally. But it was forced upon her. We've got the planted tsunami bombs that are going to go off. We've got the earthquakes that are going off. We've got the underground tunnels that are going off. We've got a lot of action that's happening inside this planet and outside of this planet. And when I say planet, I'm just basically talking about the sphere that we're on, whether it's this flat sphere or whether it's a round sphere. I'm on this land.
Or a Taurus. I mean, we're really, there's all kinds of scientific, and everybody's got their religion, and that's one of them, is that, whatever it is, people have justification for believing in what they believe in. So it's irrelevant.
Yeah. While they're busy here, this is the whole humanity thing. They divided us. They divide us by gender, by race, by color, by religion, by thought patterns, by abilities. They give us labels. They divide us by food groups. Literally, they give us certain foods to make sure, okay, that population got this much larger by eating this food. They got sicker. They got dumber in the head. They will break it all down. We're broken up into these divisions. And like you were saying the other day, some people will say it's a school. What do you want to learn from being in school? Okay. My classroom, my school classroom is this, my environment, every single day, everywhere I go, every dimension I go in, I'm learning something from there. I stopped myself from taking the role of being a teacher because that, to me, it's a wonderful position, absolutely, but it's also a stuck state. The best kind of teacher is the best kind of full-on student. You have to be able to always ask questions and get it wrong. Get it wrong now and then, because that shows your growth. That shows your inner awareness that you are allowing yourself to grow and take on other perspectives, other alternative views. Just, always stay grounded in your, belief system and stuff. But don't forget that we are in a growth process. We are going through a massive shift, and we're going to be the leaders. We're going to have to turn around and tell those that are coming that want the truth. And we have to be able to hold it in the now, because them out there, they're not. They can't. They fixated on one object, and then that's it. And that's the other thing. 9 objects. What's going to happen? Are they all just going to blow up and disappear? I made a bit of a prediction last night when I was talking to my housemate, and I put a date with it and I put a color with it. I'm not going to put it out there just yet. I want to see if I can make it happen. How powerful are we really? How powerful are we really? Why are they pulling out all the stops? Using all our senses against us, trying really, really hard to stop us from seeing who we truly are, what we're truly capable of, seeing that we don't need these government organizations because they're not good for us. To me, someone who's meant to be watching out for us as a people, for them to get into those positions, this means that all peoples need to have a roof over the house, over their head. They need to have these, they need to have shelter, the basic needs, basic necessities, okay? Shelter, clean water, and clean air. They are the main.
Caveat to that.
Yeah.
Caveat to that is
Yeah, it is, mate.
The difference between you and I and other people with their entitlements, and that's the official term through the government,
Yeah,
is there is entitlements. They don't have to lift a finger. They are entitled to those things you just described. But you and I know that it's not just if someone gives you that property, if they give you without financial constraints to walk into a place, and
yeah,
it's been proven over and over and over again, if you don't have some type of investment or vested interest in whatever it is you're pursuing, whether it's a house, a car, an education, if you don't have that, you're going to take advantage of it and you're going to dump on it. So
yes,
that's why a lot of times people will have that property for a period of time and it'll go sideways. It'll be in worse shape when they left it because
yeah,
they just took it for granted,
yeah,
because it's the literal term is an entitlement.
yeah,
So with that, yes, I agree 100% that
yeah,
we all deserve to have the means to be able to secure clothes on our back,
yeah.
food in our belly, a roof over our head, and not have those constraints and concerns, except for supporting one another
Yeah.
when trials and tribulations and troubles come. But if we are entitled to that and we're handed these things, that's the different than what I think that you're talking about. Yes,
Oh,
agree. We all deserve those things,
see,
but we have to work
I'm
for it.
taking it back to the whole division thing. You know,
Yes.
we were fenced in, we were boxed in, we were put into little houses and stuff. And people think that's a form of freedom. They've got a roof over their head, they've got a fence around them, they've got food in their belly. The food is poisonous, the water is poisonous, the air that they breathe is poisonous. The house itself has, you know, eyes and ears and all sorts everywhere that's not good for us. There's nothing good about being boxed in a pen. When you look outside, you see on farms, they turn around and say there's not enough land for the population on this planet. That's a crock of shit. I'll say it straight up. What a load of rubbish. It's
Yep.
the governments and everybody else that are watering off and buying the rivers to build up these dams to later on turn around and cause catastrophic devastation. You know, whole towns get wiped out, whole populations get wiped out, and it's all for funding. There's all these different agendas. Their agendas work for them. They do not work for us. When we start seeing it, we start going, hey, no, look, you know, look at the landscape. Do you really want to live in an area that's going to have a landslide, you know, sinkholes, floods, fires, you know,
Yep.
and then you look at how these things are actually taking place and why they're taking place. Who is
Yeah.
responsible for these
Right.
weather warfares? Well, part of it is the person that gets in a plane to go to fly to another country to visit their friends, they are participating in the chemtrails being sprayed. They don't care. It's in their tax. The government buys, sells, loads up. There's never one agenda attached to any agenda. So what I'm saying
Do
is,
you think that the commercial airlines
yeah,
are part of the chemtrail
I've seen
system?
it. I've seen it. Air New Zealand planes fly over here, dropping chemtrails all the time. Okay?
Wow.
I've
Because
seen
I
them.
know that I've heard and I have seen, because there are craft here, they don't fly high enough. I'm close to an airport. It's like 20 minutes away. The next one is an hour south of me, and outside of that is one that's like 90 minutes. So I'm really not going to see a lot of traffic from that. But I
Okay.
don't see these craft high enough to do these things, but we do see them. So I'm curious as to where they are coming from, because they are little teeny tiny pinpoints. So the ones that we're seeing here are indeed very high up. They're probably over 35,000 feet, if
Oh,
that's possible. Because I know that when we have flown from here in the States to New Zealand, that they, you have the little screen and you can track all that stuff. You can see, they'll tell you your airspeed, they'll tell you how high you are, all that stuff. And I think that that's fascinating, because the other thing I heard about these commercial airlines is not necessarily that they're involved in that, but that the craft that really do the powerhouse of the trailing, I'm not going to use the C word, that those are not even, they're not manned. They're autonomous. They're programmed, and they do what they do, and they drop what they drop when they're meant to drop them.
Yeah.
So there's no one in them, no organic being in them. It's all driven by remote, and it's at an extremely high altitude. So that's interesting that they're even, and I guess it kind of makes sense though too what you're saying, because it's at different strata of the atmosphere.
Yeah. If you take into what you've just said, I mean, they've got drones that spit fire, spit water, deliver parcels, spray China, spray for mosquitoes. Oh God. They
do it here. There's a mosquito mitigation program here, and I think it was one of our things that we did. I had to run around the house and close all the windows.
They created those mosquitoes for a reason.
Yes.
So now they create the technology to get rid of these mosquitoes, but that's just a ruse to bring in, another sort of armed force by remote control, remote vehicle control. Back in the day when we were having the flyovers with the military, they were waiting to do a pickup, which we just happened to bloody witness. We were seeing this. We were seeing the practice runs. We were seeing the different beings come over. We were seeing the chemtrails being dropped by the actual planes. I have got footage of translucent planes. I've got footage of what look like dots dropping these trails. So whatever it is, the government is fully aware of it. If I can go outside and I can see something fly past or whatever show itself, then I know that the government is aware of it. I know that these so-called satellites would be picking up all of this information. So these government organizations, whatever you want, never a straight answer. Whatever they put out there to me is rubbish. If I can't put myself into that position out there and see it firsthand, then I cannot seriously take it as full face value. I can't do that. They have the technology to recreate a total alien invasion. Everything that we have seen in all the movies, all the predictive programming and everything out there, we've seen it. It's inbred in us. And as soon as they announce that this is an alien invasion, you watch the blimmin' panic that's going to go on. But this is what it's designed for. They will stage a fake alien invasion and then wait for everybody, come in and be the saviors, clean up the mess, only for the real guys to come in, and because everybody is all negative about what they've just experienced, they're going to transferable anger onto the new ones coming in. So it's like we have to be very careful. We have to be able to identify our emotions, whether they're true emotions or whether they're MK altered or, sonically sent to you. Because there are a lot of abilities out there that both the beings have, the, undercover governments have, the whole shit and caboodle. We're just a little ant on the top, but we're still amazing. They need us. They need us. So whatever they do here, they're not going to wipe us all out. They need us to be here. Looking at the Hopi prophecies, it's not just the Hopi prophecies. I'm looking at the Maya, the Maya people. I'm looking at all Aztec side of it. I'm looking at the Egyptian side of it. There's all these different angles that talk about the same thing. And when I step into my reincarnated lives and past lives and stuff like this, I look at the stages each time I've come back in. I've come from a time when there was a civilization, whether it's an Egyptian civilization, whether it's the height of the Persian, run empire, all of them have a little connection to us. We have a pull to Atlantis. We have a pull to the Titarian side of it. We have a pull to, the aquatic side of it, because we've been there, we've lived this. This was a civilization that we were fully emerged in. And now they're going to try to do a new one. What's the new species they're going to try to drop on us? Well, I see it as if we turn around and say, hey, no, we're not having this, we got to shut this AI down. We can have power. We can have the warmth in our homes. When we go back to saying, what do we really need to have at the end of the day? How much food do we really need to eat each day? What skills do we have? What transferable skills do we have? So that we're putting in our energy to get back what we need. We don't need a lot. But if we all work together, there would be no homeless. There would be no poverty. Everybody would feel productive, because that's another big thing. It's a really nasty cycle. When you feel like you've got no way out and the government turns around and starts to support you, and then you get trapped in these cycles of behavior, living week to week, from paycheck to paycheck. It's not just those that are on some form of government, assistance. It's also those that are working, because it's the same repetitive pattern, same emotional behavior. You might think that you can go out and buy this house, but here now in New Zealand, a basic 3-bedroom house, you got to have $500,000 as a bloody deposit. I'm not joking. Even in the rural areas out here, the prices are still through the roof. No general man going out there. I mean, I remember a time when one person, and I've seen memes as well, people putting it out there, when one person could earn enough money to feed his whole family and buy a house and have a batch and a car. Now you're lucky if you can have a car to even live in on the street. Okay.
Yep. And to explain to those who don't know what a batch is, it's a summer house. It's a vacation house. It's someplace that you go. I mean, there's 5 of us, and myself and my siblings, and out of all of us, there is only one that has a batch.
Yeah.
One. And most people are working here until they can't work.
Yeah.
Not until retirement.
Yeah.
Because from my definition, retirement is doing what you want when you want. So if I'm doing what I want, and I have a full-time job, I'm technically, in my heart and mind, I'm retired.
Yeah.
So right now I'm retired in a way, because I'm doing what I want for the time being.
Yeah.
So if you keep that mindset, that kind of helps us get through what we need to get through. But you're right about the whole economic squeeze that we've had on us, but it's also about, again, what you said. What do we really need? What do we really need? And it doesn't mean we have to go back to primitive, because I think that's a mistake. That I think that's BS. Didn't we have a conversation about these Tartarian fireplaces, and they weren't really made for fire?
Yeah.
They were ultimately made for generating etheric nutrition and energy, and it wasn't anything to do with heat or cold. It had everything to do with sustaining life. And that's what these so-called churches were. They were made for harvesting the ether and health, and if someone got injured or sick, that's where they went and took them, and everybody, it was a community thing, and everybody healed everybody else. But I guess the stupid thing was that brought it to mind was that damn movie.
Oh no,
The Clones. Yeah, where Dan Aykroyd was about, and he had, you have to go watch the movie. I'm not going to repeat it. I'm not a particularly delicate person, but I'm not going to repeat it. I'm just going to throw that out there. But yeah, you didn't have the anatomy. Okay, I'll to put it delicately. I'm good with it. I'll be a wordsmith tonight. That you don't have, you didn't have the anatomical structure that required elimination.
Yeah.
So we were structured different. And I know that when I was a kid, always fascinated with anatomy and looking at those old encyclopedias with the clear film, and you could pull over all the different layers of what the human body looked like inside. And you saw that heart that was off to the left.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now they picture it in the center.
Yeah. So now when I grew up, I was told it was in the center. Okay. That's where you did all the work. It was in the center. All right. And then when I got into the medical side of my life, I discovered where the organs were at. I got to see them in a body.
Yep.
You know, I actually got to see them inside our body. So
and cadavers are rare. You don't get cadavers. They just do models, so you got to suck it up.
Oh, well, where I was at the time, they did. I mean, we're going back like what 40 years, you know.
Yeah.
That was allowed back then, in the right, right job positions. But anyways, yeah, it's the whole they. If we look back at our ancestors, we are our ancestors. We retain the knowledge and the informations that they found out back then. We just got to tap into it. And so you just put yourself in another mindset. I know there's a few really good people in the chat room at the moment that know how to do this. You get yourself into that mindset and you clear those cobwebs. My meditation, my favorite type of meditation is when I mow the lawn. It's it's some days it's physically difficult, but I get out there and I push through. I push through the rain or whatever. And the other one is vacuuming and cleaning. I go into this cleaning mode, and I can have the whole house clean in like one evening. But it's the meditation. It's allowing yourself, if you're concentrating over here on one thing, you're allowing something else over here to take place. So if you're aware that that is happening while you're doing this, you can tap into that. One of the techniques that I was given for my healing through these off-world beings, multidimensional encounter, was to take it from a third-party aspect. Create yourself this window, two-way mirror. You can see through it, but they can't see you, not until you're ready for them to. Then you start going back through your childhood stuff. This is just as an example of what I did. I stepped back in and I looked at one ugly scenario after another, one at a time to deal with, because you can't deal with all of them. Boom, Jesus Christ, no. Excuse my French. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I said it again. I know you hate that saying. Anyway, but it was like I got to reach points with my inner child that I wasn't able to reach with anybody who said they were working for my best interest. So when I was able to figure out what that child needed and wanted, I could tell the difference, because this is the thing about humanity, knowing the difference between a want, Gen Z group, and a need, we, the older group. Yeah, that's you, everybody in the chat room. We know what we need, and it's basic. We don't want a hell of a lot. We want a space where it's our energy. Okay, we can harness our energy. We know what it is that them out there are doing to this energy. We've been cutting them off for the past 20 years, and they have started showing themselves their true identities. Yeah. Anyway, getting back to the topic of the AI ship.
If it is a ship.
Oh,
we even did like readings on this, and I know other people have, but there are also others that will post things out there and say, oh, such and such a group said this, and they'll show a computer generated image that is moving. It's not just the image, it's a little movie, and they'll believe that. We are so conditioned to believe that if you see it, you believe it thing, and you can't anymore, not with all the deep fake stuff. So we need to, again, we need to have that discernment that will bring us back to what is it that tells us. If you have deep enough programming, your intuition is not going to mean dookie. You're going to have to really challenge yourself, because I'm going to be the one to really question myself, and I hear it all the time. Trust your intuition, trust your intuition, trust your gut. And it's like, I do, but only to a certain degree, because there are so many corrupted influences energetically from friends and family. We all have to be careful what we share, so we can make that informed decision, if you will, within ourselves. And it's not right or wrong. Just because your decision or determination or is different than somebody else's doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean it's right. But it could be right for you. And in the part you're playing for your own life. So I don't know, complicated way to put. It's like, suck it up, buttercup, and just take action.
I think, seriously, it's better to have an open mind about this, because, but be safe in your judgment of what it is, and it will change. It will change. It'll either increase for the scenario that you're living in right now, or it will decrease and change. But because the energy is all directed that way, that's what's going to appear. People are not looking at what's going on right beneath their own feet. And that's the part that really scares me. They're not looking in their own backyards to see what's changing. Anybody's house got any new cracks in the walls? Has your lights been flickering in and out? Does your water taste a bit more funky than normal? Are you are you having allergic reactions to something around you in your environment? I know that winter is setting in on your guys' side of the rock.
Yep, good way to put it.
I'm a stone and I come from a bigger rock.
I agree with you. I think we all are. Anyway.
Okay. So then, with the Hopi prophecy, they speak about the red kachina and the blue kachina, and this turd has changed both colors. At one stage, at the moment, I believe it was red and it's going green, or it was blue as well. And I'm like, well, when you think about that, is that the space barrier that they're going through? Like when I do my auric fields, right, and I'm doing the dimensions, each dimension is connected to a different chakra, right? And these chakras are represented by the density, which equals the color. So when I'm seeing, it's not just the chemical compounds that are being, shown out there, but it's also what are the lenses that are being used down here to actually reflect the colors that are being displayed to us. So when I'm looking at that, how can those colors be the same as the colors that we have on Earth? That tells me they're more man-made. That's like, the colors that I've seen when I've been gone into these different dimensions and stuff are way more vibrant. And anyway, getting back on track, when this space turd flies through these different frequency fields, it's changed a color. All right, the color that's coming from it is different. Now, is it because they're going through this spatial, dimensions, or is it because of what it's apparently expelling? How is it that this technology that they've got is able to actually decipher the chemical compounds of what's coming out, and yet the population on this planet will look up and go, oh, look at that pretty color in the sky, and not realize it's a sky oil slick. It's a chemical cocktail, and it's the reflection from the sun. So you're seeing, and it's like the same thing is in my head about the colors that are coming out of this. Are we seeing, when you look at the prophecy, it says how fast it's going. And that connects me to what we're seeing out there now. So when we look at all of the different prophecies and stories and tales and myths and legends about who's come and who's gone and we're living in that time again. They're doing it again, and it happens right before a reset. Right? This is when, buildings fall because of the weather. With the weather warfares. They turn around and say it's the weather, it's not the warfare. But the weather's being controlled and directed and amplified, and it's being controlled.
Oh, yes, the weather's being controlled. And that Stone said that's kind of serendipitous in a sort of kind of odd way, because there's been ways of us to take control of a lot of that. And about the weather warfare, there is a way for us to take control of that. And I know that with Augie and I have talked, and he's mentioned it several times in his mastermind group about how they were able to help, but it takes a collective.
Yeah.
They were able to help people with that. However, again, it is a collective thing. And if we dwell too much on what we perceive as hopeless and helpless, we are screwed. We have to take things by the gonads.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that we realize the power. And you mentioned that earlier. We have given our power away, and we have to realize who we are.
Yeah.
And once we do that, we write our own script.
Yeah.
We write our own freaking script. I don't care who you are, where you're at, what your circumstances are. You don't like your freaking story? You're the author of it. Rewrite it.
Yeah. It's like with the whatever it is, the space turd that's out there and the direction that everybody's looking at over, there, it is. It's like they are rewriting all the events that are always happened in our books right in front of us right now. So I'm looking at the 40-day flood. I'm looking at the 3 days of darkness. I'm looking at all the different types of plagues that have come in, the different creatures that have been washed up on the shores right before these massive earth changes happen. They can hear, they can feel the frequencies in the land and under the water. We're no different. We're no different. We feel it up here. Every time one of us is taken, we feel an aspect of it. When we take away all of these distractions and everything else, we come back to a migrational type of species. Do no harm to others. We make sure we look after each other. We might not be able to stay with that person for too long, but we can help them while we're there. We share our knowledge. We move on. We find a food over here or a seed over here. It might grow in this area. When they turned around and started putting fences up, that's when they started dividing us. There was another species here to do that. So I'm now looking at the whole migration thing. This whole, I totally understand why people are being pushed out of other countries, the whole migrational thing. We've got it going on here too. And the requirements for immigration into the country, they could devastate any family. If you don't have the money or the means to come into a country and reestablish, our country here is not even our own anymore. They're selling off every kind of shares. Our wood, and the wood that grows here doesn't belong to the people or the land. It's genetically modified, most of it. I've lived in some beautiful bush areas only to just now, every time, it's almost like wherever I go, they come along and they cut down the trees. And I'm like, no, I need this to survive. I'm an air breather this time round. And, so I need these trees. What I expel, the trees breathe in. The trees, what they expel, I breathe in. So, there is a symbiotic relationship between us here on this planet. So we've got to take care of it. So when they're out there and they're throwing all this stuff at us and that, I go back to, it's not caveman, it's not primitive, it's I know how to make clothing, I know how to make linen. I adopted the abilities because of a hobby interest, a sport interest, a living history, I don't even want to call it reenactment.
Reenactment
I
type
don't
thing.
want to call it reenactment because I
Okay.
wasn't reenacting anything. I really did wear the helmet. I really did get hit in the head with an axe.
But
you know,
you were reenacting a historical event because technically that's not really what's going on. But I mean, that's a really good point that this is something that is sustainable.
yeah,
And I don't think did we talk about that yesterday, but I know we talk about before and after about the clothing that we wear, and the cotton that I have on, and that there's not just the cotton, and you have to be careful where you source that from. There are natural products that have been placed to the wayside, especially things like flax.
yeah,
Flax is huge. Flax, cotton, bamboo. Oh my gosh! Anybody who's got anything with bamboo made, it's phenomenal.
yeah.
And I actually bought. It was made in South Carolina here in the States. It's a comforter with a pillowcase, and it is made out of organic, ethically sourced cotton, and it has a little bit of stretch to it. Guess what? It's not elasticine, which is the synthetic version of rubber.
Yeah.
This is natural rubber from a rubber tree, sap from a rubber tree. Yeah, it costs you a little bit more because their volume is so much lower than Walmart. But it is brilliant. It is one of the best wearing things. It's 7 years old and it looks brand new.
Um,
Same thing with the bamboo, brand new. Same thing with the high quality cotton. It is like brand new.
yeah.
So when you buy that, and it wasn't hugely expensive, the comforter was a little bit more, but from a practical perspective, if we support those things and we're saving up for those things, we can go ahead and foster these small businesses.
Oh yeah.
That's the survival aspect.
Yeah.
It's not just providing for us; it's providing for the local and small business people. You
So
know, and
yeah.
it's healthy.
Yeah, the thing I'm careful with the small businesses, I'm all for supporting local small industry. And it's like, okay, I don't want to share it too much because I don't want them to get shut down. You can call it selfish if you want, but at the end of the day, we are going to end up going back into a time where we barter with each other. We barter our skills. And we've got to make sure, I mean, there's infiltration everywhere we go. Back in the day, I helped a group called, we were working with what was called the Green Dollar. And we had a community hall where we started off, and I did this when we moved down here to Tikawiti as well, started off with going from house to house and starting up your own little garden and having too much produce and sharing it with your neighbors, and then the neighbors sharing it with you, and then you get too many, you start sharing your plants and you start sharing the seeds, and then you start sharing your skills. You start sitting down and having movie nights, and then you start getting together more than one day a week. And before you know it, you have a community who are getting together regularly, and they are growing. They're growing their little networks. They're going into schools. They're teaching. They do it with a level of respect and consideration and everything that goes along with it. When when you've had too much effect on a community, when the council comes in and says, you have to pay for this now. You can't do this for free. We don't want you here. So it's like once we went from all of those, we started opening up a soup kitchen. It's known as a soup kitchen, but it's for anybody who wants a feed, needs a feed. And then we started seeing that there were a lot of people who didn't have food. Now we've got organisations throughout New Zealand and hats off to them, for the work the mahi that they're doing. They're going around and they're getting the food donations from big shop organisations that have too much to throw out. A dented can here or something there, and then they're giving them to the older generations, the kamatuas, because they don't get enough subsidy for their aged pension.
Yep.
And there's so much of this going on here, and it concerns me when our government here, pathetic as it is, and happy to say it to his face too, because it's not just him, it's all those that came before him continually doing the same harm and injury to the people. If we are to go under the whole straw man identity, then these guys are not taking the accurate care that they are meant to of the wards of state. We are all under the wards of state if you have a birth regis, all right? If you have a birth registration certificate, you are owned by someone. You are chattel. So, and these governments use what it is, where it comes from. They use it against us over and over again. We should be able to go into a supermarket or wherever and get the supplies that we need. When people got too greedy, because when you don't have anything and suddenly it's available, you just keep taking and taking and taking. It's like Pavlov's dog. You ring the bell, they're going to come running for food. I did an EVP about a week and a half ago, and I asked it for a name, and the name that came back was food. Now, all my pets I ever have always answer to the name food. As soon as I say food, they come running in to get it. So I thought that was a bit of a, wow, out of the blue, the EVP answered food. So, going back into it, food should be free. Food should be, we should be growing our gardens. I know it's not easy to, but when you work out exactly how much food you eat in a week, and then you can divide that. I mean, how many toilet rolls do you need for a whole year? How many do you use in a week? And then how many people are in your family using them as well? So when you can actually calculate the surplus of what you need, the supply of what you need, and the surplus that you may need if others come into your fray. It's about stepping up and taking care of yourself, and not harvesting or totally draining this land. The government organisations have come in, they've moved the food supplies. If we go back 20 years ago, I can remember that the Chinese government were going into Korea, and they were confiscating the grains, the rice from the stores. And then the same thing happened in India. So they would go in and take a really massive harvest. There was a lot more going on then as well. I mean, there was a lot of refugee camps that people didn't even understand about that existed. So,
But
oh,
I think Cosmic Voice has a really good point that as far as these distractions, that why would NASA and mainstream bring the 3-eye atlas into public attention? And it is a distraction. It is 100% distraction. It is because people are falling for the BS. People are falling for it. It's doing what it was intended to do. It's got, and Stone and I know for sure 100%, because we have a lot of conversations between before and after, and it's like some of them are relatively incoherent, but that's okay. But I think the idea is that yes, there is definitely a distraction, and it is not necessarily. And here's the interesting thing that I think we brought up last night between us two, is that it's not necessarily even the discussion about what this is. It's about which facet of this thing it is that you're looking at.
Yeah.
Are you paying attention to? Are you paying attention to all of it, portion of it, or are we meant to kind of make sure our periphery is still available so we're able to see what else it is? Because if they tell you, look up, I'm not kidding you. I'm going to be I'm going to like this. Maybe that's something that's innate within me, because I'll sit there. If somebody tells me, I don't care who it is, if you tell me you need to do this, the middle finger in my mind goes so high and is so strong. I am probably going to have a real big problem. There is definitely something within me that says I need to question what you just did, because it was vehement. And even those people that will tell me you need to do this, as soon as you say certain words and in certain places and in certain tones, there's something now that many of us, and there's that discernment again, need to be able to pick up on and say, what is really behind that? And it's not just the words and the tones. We have to start looking at the little micro expressions, everything. We need to look at everything to make sure that we're catching every nuance of what's being fed to us. And it's up to us to say, I'll pass, I'm on a diet from that BS, or I'll consider it, or I'll put it on the shelf for maybe later. I'll put it in the mental pantry and save it for later, because it doesn't necessarily mean it's useless. It could come in to be handy later, right?
Yeah. See, with the whole psychological side of it, it's like, oh geez, they're trying to get it out of my head again. They're trying to get in there. Wait on. I wrote it down. Okay, we got the military side of it. So when they start creating all of these distractions, when people are looking up, they don't realize what's moving into their local township. They've got all these different devices ready to go. I've seen some of these devices, these sonic machines and stuff. I was in a location where my speedometer in the vehicle started going whack on me. And I'm like, oh, come on. So I was on the way to a funeral. So I pulled over and I gave it 5 minutes and then I drove off. It was good as gold. And then what it actually showed me was, along my journey, there was a massive, I don't know, a couple of surveillance vans. They had the latest tech on top of the roof and stuff. This was the new extended Western motorway through West Harbour. Or was it West Harbour? Yeah, it's over the Green Height and around that way. But what ended up taking us to Albany. So when we getting there, we ended up having a motorbike police escort, one in front and one behind. And when we turned off to the cemetery, they turned off the other way. But it was just reminding me that they knew exactly who I was, what was going on, what was wrong with my vehicle. It shouldn't have been on the road. And all these other things, but they were totally aware of it and they still let me go through. They knew that I knew. And so these devices that they've got out there, they know what you're thinking. You don't have to be near a bloody cell phone. You think about all the massive spatial energy that's going on. If you listen, you can hear people talking. You don't need any of these amplifications. I hear it all the time. You reminded me somewhere. I'm just going to jump off the thing at the moment. Last night I got into bed and I was only like 30 seconds and I sat myself up. I sat myself up and said, holy shit, what was that? What was that? I felt, now the questions I was putting there before I went to sleep was, I want to know the truth behind this space turd. I want to know what it is. Show me what it is. And when I got this impression, I don't know if it was connected or not, or whether it was some being trying to tap into my mindset, my feeling state where I was at the time. But it was very angelic. It was very angelic. It was a very overwhelming, safe presence. And I don't trust that stuff. I can't trust anything like that because of what has been shown to me and what I've experienced back in the day. And I would love it to be real, but if it's coming like that, I've got lots of questions. You don't just show up and then bugger off again. Even if it's a dimensional connection that we've got to hold, you come in and you complete the conversation, the message, the hey, I'm here, I'm this being, I'm from this. You share your clear intentions. If you have another being, creature, entity, whatever, and it's not sharing its clear and making clear intentions with you, you leave it alone. You tell it to bugger off. It has no power over you, right? You expel it. Expel those demons. And look at all the stuff that's going on. We've got this whole, everybody's, if you're not concentrated up here, looking up there, you're concentrated on the Halloween energy. All right. And all the rituals through history that have taken place, all that energy all gathered together. If there is a reset and a harvest, they're not going, and then they come for a pickup. Where is all of this energy and stuff being stored? Is it in the planet? Is it exterior from the planet? Is it on the moon? I'm thinking about, if you look at the Aetherius Society, they store our energy in a box and they send it to another community to go, oh, we want all this good energy to bring that community good wealth or good harvest or da-da-da-da, medicine in a box. What else is behind that? They don't tell you what they're doing and how that energy is going into the box. I've seen people, I've witnessed it firsthand. You go in, you sit down, next minute, you're out. You're out like a light. And you were all lively 5 seconds before you came in. It's because your energy has just been sucked into that box. They know the dimensions of the room to be able to do it. So the transference of energy is a very real thing. But when we're getting these beings and creatures coming in, and I'm getting some new ones, it's like, hey, wait a minute, who are you? Where do you come from? Who's trying to tamper with my fields, my waves? We can have an impact on anybody else that comes in and watches what we're doing. They can have an impact on us because we're sharing of like mind, of clear intent of what's going on. Now, with the military, I feel like they're sneaking into these positions undercover. And then when everything goes down, they'll come out and do a cleanup. They'll do a cleanup. We've got, okay, now.
Before you move on to the military aspect, you were talking about this aspect of collecting this energetic the energies into these vessels into an inorganic. I'm gonna I don't want to say sterilize it, but I'm gonna conceptualize it a little bit. Whether it's a box or some other sort of inorganic vessel. So one of the things, and I have no idea why, but all of a sudden this started popping up about these ghost towns.
Yeah.
And I get that. So there's a huge one and they're trying to re-energize or repopulate some areas in Asia because I'll use the C word and I'll say cull. And the other thing that started popping up after I saw that was the average U.S. Berries, depending on the source, but as far as the ghost towns, is about 4,000.
Yeah.
Más o menos, more or less. And then what popped up was so think about how big the U.S. is. Pretty big space. So explain to me why this little town, and I'm not picking on this and Stone, I'm telling you right now, this might be, it's not serendipity. That card actually came up for me in a reading today was serendipity. I don't think it's serendipitous. Is that this guy, he's pretty cool. He goes all over the world. He does these little unusual vignettes about these different areas of the world. One of the things that he did, he visited Italy. He visited 4 towns. But the statistic that he gave was small country in relation to the US, right? 6,000 ghost towns in Italy. So what does that tell you about the previous reset? What does that tell you about the survival of those people that are there right now and the resiliency of what we are, wherever you are, that we need to have
Yeah.
moving forward?
Yeah. Well, ask yourself, what was it that moved that whole entire village out in the first place?
Earthquakes, and it's interesting because each one of these stories for these little places that they talked about were pretty much the same story, but they were not at the same
Yep.
time. So that's why I say I really feel like whatever's going on now is going to
Escalate.
it's going to have this ripple, and it's going to come in waves. It's not going to happen all at once.
No.
It's not going to happen all at once. It didn't happen all at once back in the 1800s. That's when my parents came over. There were village purges back in those days in Europe. I don't look at. I'm fair complected. I'm blue eyed. My grandparents were not.
Yeah.
So they were purged from that area and came here. So it's almost like this it's not social, but it really is like a geographical purge where they shift people from different areas of the space that we're in to accomplish whatever goal that they have set to do.
Yeah.
And the manipulation has to stop. I mean, ultimately that's it. And that's the part of the so-called awakening, this expansion. It's not an ascension. This is an expansion. And it's not that things are getting more spaced up. Things are getting filled up within us.
Yeah.
Not about density. It's about expansion.
Yeah.
It's about and knowledge, comprehension, and utilization between those is going to equate to wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's this huge shift, absolutely huge shift. I mean, I look at all the places, I know what you're talking about. I've watched some of these shows where people have gone around investigating these totally, what are they called? Desolate cities, communities, ghost towns. And I'm like, I live there. I live there. What was the reason they left in the first place? What man-made reason did they have to up and go? Just leaving everything on the kitchen table, leaving everything just gone and never returned. What was it? Where did they go? Why didn't they come back to those locations? Totally different to what's happening over with these weather storms like Jamaica at the moment. Totally wiped out. But then you look through history and you see these old paintings. Well, I'll have to go through and find some of these paintings and put them in the upload for Rumble later on. But there's this one particular one, and it's got 4 clouds, and they're all like cherubs blowing towards this community. Everything is in rubble. You've got skeletons and dead bodies coming up from the ground. This was at around the same time. We're going back to the 1500s, and they were seeing all different types of orbs and tubes and stuff breaking out of these things, and war explosions on the ground. I don't think they were being shot out of the sky. I think that they were crashing onto the earth because of the frequency that's going on. If you look in some of these old paintings, you can see, street cables and aerials. We might see them and perceive them as something totally different to what they are today because we have, so-called advanced technology from what they had back then. And then, like, when I go and look at the buildings and see the fine decorative art that goes on, that has to be 3D printed.
Yeah, and that's a great point because my son is an artist. One of my kids is an artist, and I said, "Oh my gosh, that's that looks like one of those marble paintings where you can see the image of the woman through the veil." And he had it. It was just amazing. It looked like a photograph of one of those statues.
Oh, wow.
And he didn't do AI, he did it all by hand. So one of the interesting things is that how is it that they have these amazing ornate architectures and artworks around the world, predominantly they're not like they're barren here in the States or New Zealand or anywhere else. They're there. There are just fewer of them, maybe, or here they're kind of spaced out a little bit. But there in Europe, it's prolific with the amount. And even in places like Turkey and India, we don't see any of that stuff. It's flabbergasting what's out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely flabbergasting. And it's just like you said, the fire we talked about earlier, fireplaces weren't fireplaces.
Yeah. Fire. Yeah. Hearths.
They were energetic, etheric gathering healing centers. I live in a work in an area that is considered what's called Old Town in my area, and there is a church across the street from us. Across from that is the courthouse, which is oddly enough the same type of structure that is part of this Tartarian thing, where there's the cupola and blah blah blah. And then there's another church behind that. And then there's a church around the corner. Church? How many churches? How many people live here?
Yeah.
And then you go across the river. What do you see there? The most amazing, ornate water treatment center. It is stunning. I've taken many pictures of it. Was it originally created as a water treatment center? I'm sure they've bastardized it into that, but what it was, God only knows. It was part of that etheric system.
Yeah.
And they all have the same format. They have these different buildings. They have that courthouse. They have that cupola or well, and then they'll have this really ornate, extensive building, and they'll have water around it.
Yeah.
So it's just like the Star Forts. It's the same type of thing where there is this technology that's available to us that we are not having brought forward to really do the true healing that we're entitled to.
Yeah.
There is a good word, entitlement.
When you step into it, we're like the all these waters and stuff, they're healing, regenerative areas. Okay. Yeah, if you think about the density that we're in, as soon as we submerge ourselves into a bath of water or a pool of water, we take that weight off, and it allows for, if you do any kind of aqua therapies, like you submerge yourself in, you put a blindfold on, you listen to some music, whatever you're doing there while the body is submerged, you can go places that you couldn't normally go. Being in water is another gateway to another set of dimensions. It totally is. And a lot of the dark stuff in my experiences has come through the blessed water. Okay, the blessing of the water. And so these bathing areas, and a lot of cultures have these bathing areas, and you go in and you're refreshed. I mean, you look at the whole giving yourself the baptism. It's in another form of baptism. So you're purifying the water, the energy. So when you're stepping into that, it feels, you can see the ripple effects. If you get a bowl of water and stick your finger just above it, you'll start seeing a ripple effect, and you're not even touching the water. So when you submerge your whole physical in, that water is taking on that knowledge of frequency, your body's frequency knowledge. And there's a lot of information in that. When you flush that drain, it goes down the drain. It's going to mix with another body of information. When they filter our water and all of this other stuff, they're not just collecting stuff out of the water or clearing the water. They're also collecting information from that water. It's not about, okay, well, from that person's urine, we're going to get A, B, and C information. It's about that water flow that comes from that house possesses this type of information from this dimension. And we want to tap into that. And that's what they're doing right across the board. What you say?
Here's the converse to that. So what we can also do with that prior to that going down the gurgler is maybe we can take that. Maybe we can take that what we are immersing ourselves into, whether it's knowledge or water, because ultimately this thing that we call the ether and the air, we are submersed in it. We're perpetually into it. So we can take into and from the ether, from the water, what benefits us.
Yeah.
Whether we put something in it in addition to whatever the water is, we can bring that into ourselves and
Yeah.
choose what goes down the drain.
That's what I say the Holy Grail is. Okay.
Yeah.
And I thank the Amanita gods for this. The Holy Grail is the awareness that you can bless anything. You can transmute anything into the energy that you need to create. So if I want to suddenly be, I don't know if I can do this one, but I'm going to give it a go. I want to levitate. I want to levitate. So I've got to clear all of these different obstacles around me. So the only way I can do that is by creating an uplift. Okay, I need to create that uplift. So I need to get rid of such and such a baggage. So then I can say, yes, I can do it. There was this monk back in the day. I forget the name. I was doing a study when I was around 13, 14, and he was able to levitate. And he was a simple chap with a simple ideal, prayed every morning, prayed in the evening, and he was genuine in giving that prayer, that thank you to this entity, to this. I think it was either a Madonna or a Mary, one of the two. And when the villagers got wind that he could actually levitate, the monk, the I don't know where the monks go and hang out. What are they called? Monastery. Okay, the monastery adopted him in, and
I
they
don't know if I'd consider a monk hanging out anywhere, but okay, the monastery. Let's go hang out at the monastery, yo, brother.
gosh. Anyway, he was hanging out at the monastery wearing his rope belt and to keep him
Yo, bro.
so he wouldn't fly away. Yeah. So they kept him there, and nobody could actually figure out what it was. They believed that it was because he was genuine in his giving thanks and receiving his thanks. You know, he became weightless. He didn't have all of the gravity of all these other stresses that everybody else had. He would just, every day, he would just say hello and goodbye and have a nice day. He was always polite. He was always courteous. So the story goes anyway. I wasn't there, so I can't tell you. But you know, there's a lot of old stories explaining about levitation, and that's my final goal. Is I want to levitate. I don't need to get into one of these crafts that are coming. I mean, like the scooter, like the cell phone, we're all going to have these like little pods that we can fly around in, and then we can crash in as well. So, you know, what I'm trying to get at is we have the power to create anything that we need to. If we are aware of the directions that we want to go and with clear intent, we can get there. We will connect with other like minds along the way. I see us in the future as all living in these little fucking, excuse my French again, little pod homes where everything we need is right there. And then if you're in family connections, there'll be an extra pod just added on to it. Say we live in like these little pod cities, but that pod is yours so that when you move out of home, you can take that pod with you and be in that new space, right? All teenagers going to school, they won't have to leave home. It'll all be, you know, plugged in. But we can change that. I think we're living in a time now where we can change that so we can go back to, you know, living off the earth, knowing the actual seasons. We don't have seasons anymore. We have summer and winter, and that's it. I had spring, I don't know how many times because the daffodils kept showing up, but it was not it wasn't time for them to. So when they did show up in the true spring, they were only there for a week and then they were gone. Usually they're there for 2 to 3 weeks. Poof, gone. So they're speeding up the genetic cycle of all of us that inhabit here. And I look at it, it's got something to do with the tampering of the oxygen that we have. Back in the day, when the oxygen was clean, we had higher vitamin C levels. We had higher oxygen levels. It wasn't 2-0. It was more like
And there are also theories that going further back that the atmosphere was not blue. When you looked up, it was pink because of the hydrogen levels along with the oxygen. The
yeah,
hydrogen was much higher. The atmosphere was far less dense itself, and that's why a lot of the creatures and the plants were so much bigger. The dome or the atmosphere itself was more expansive. It was further out. And there are so many cultures that will talk about and have recorded that there has been water that came from above and below. So that I think is absolutely fascinating because it's not just the Bible, it's every single religion that will come out and tell you the same basic story. It came from above and from below. So as above, so below, and it just kind of squished things.
yeah,
Now, today, whether that was back then, how many eons can we go back that was manipulated?
yeah,
Who knows? Who
yeah,
knows? We weren't there. We could only, these people hypothesize. Well, again, you're relying on a belief system, the BS of science,
yeah.
and it is a belief system. I'm sorry, it's all theory. I'm not sorry.
No,
It's all theory. Even with the medical field, it's not called a proven, it's called a practice.
yeah,
So, we can kind of think on that. It's funny, I was digging through some stuff and it came from my niece, and I've been to Edinburgh, and she sent that. Now, look at that image. Can you tell me that's something that is such a crappy, technology? I've seen that tower. I've seen these buildings. I've walked those streets. And I'm telling you, it is a different kind of feel, a different kind of place than anywhere on the planet. When you go to the UK, hopefully I'll be able to explore more areas that are similar to that have those types of buildings, because they're not made of brick. They're not made of mortar. They are made of stone.
yeah.
Stone.
Stone has
Solid stone. Even with the earthquakes, there is technology within those stones that they've talked about more recently. Gosh, I wish I would have saved that reel. That they talked about. That's why these buildings, all these amazing quakes and shakes that we've had over the eons, not just millennia, but the eons that these buildings have survived. How
yeah,
is that? Is it
yeah,
the technology, or is it the actual structure itself, or maybe a combination of those things? But you can't tell me that is not, I don't know if we're necessarily regressing, but we're definitely having things withheld, and the time is now for us to take those steps towards regaining that knowledge.
yeah. So if we go back to one stage back when it was all medieval and we didn't have this kind of technology, I look at it as though we did have this type of technology. We had the warfares and we had all that, but at the time it was the control factor. The reset had been done and communities were springing up again and control was coming back again. But they still had the technologies and the know-how to farm, to
Yeah.
harvest, to feed each other, to clothe each other. They still had medicines, even though it seemed to be quite barbaric, they still had, practices. I don't even like that word, but they had these abilities back then. I don't see it as we're regressing back. We're just turning around and saying, look, all this technology isn't good for us. If it's used in the right way, then we can possibly make it work for us. But at this stage, it's the AI is taking over. The AI is taking over the jobs. You go in and you scan for your food now. You don't have somebody standing at a till. And, everything is done remote control. Everything's done via a card. Now they want to introduce this new ID. They're going to know everything about you, and they're going to control it even more. And at some stage, you're going to be kicked out of your community, your family, your housing, your vehicle, anything that's coming in, because they have the control of your ID. It's making a third ID. We have straw man ID, we have the living man ID, and now we're going to have a digital ID. They're designing a synthetic form of who we are, and that's going to try to rule who we are. That's not going to wash with me. It's not going to wash with me. It's not going to work. That's not going to be in the best interest for me. I don't need Tom, Dick, and Harry knowing every bloody corner of my life, because I won't be able to breathe. I'd rather be able to step here and tell you what I experienced, how I experienced, instead of going somewhere else and them telling you what I experienced, how I experienced, because they're not going to get it right. It doesn't matter how much information you give them, or any AI bot, they're not going to get it right, because you experienced it, not a collective data collected storage. We're going to turn this around by just putting in a few keywords to that AI, and it's going to come crashing down. It's going to come crashing down. Okay, sorry, go on, show us your picture. I mean, we're going back to that era. We're going back to the barter system.
So it's not going to look the same. And I think the other thing too is like what you were talking about, the whole, and I know it's kind of crude and people have some weird kind of sensitivity to it, but let's face it, they didn't have crappers. They can make up any kind of story about John Crapper the King and how it was all kind of a thing and whatever. Those fireplaces were not fireplaces. They were etheric energy harvesters that fed the people, and they didn't have to eat.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
They didn't have to eat. Why would they need a poop-a-doodle-doo tube if they didn't have to eat? There was no waste, and even if they did, nothing was wasted. So the biology changed, the chemistries changed, the energetic aspects of all of who and what we are changed. And guess what? We have that ability to reconstruct, reclaim, and reconfigure for where we are now to make that additional aspect of what we need to be successful and free ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think essentially we're going to figure out who we are.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we're doing that right now. We're figuring out who we are right now. I mean, we're looking at the distractions. Who's creating these distractions? Where are the distractions? Well, one, I'm in a house, I'm in a fence, I'm eating food that's not right for me, blah, 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 blah. It's like, it doesn't matter. I can do the most healthiest things for myself, but the distraction is they've already come in and they've already done everything to the plant, the vegetable. When you go to a supermarket or something and you buy something in a box or a container, it's already been processed. Okay. To me, processed is pro-death. There's no livingness, no goodness in it, in anything that's processed. So we go from that. So it's about the energy harvesting. Where can we get the energy from that's going to make this population do as they're told? Whatever your distraction is, whatever your hobby is, your family, they will use everything against you if they can, if you let them, because it's about emotions. If you are not aware of your emotions, how they're triggered and your reactions to it, like fight and flight. I mean, I'm still encountering people who are in their 60s suffering from fight and flight. And so we shouldn't be here where we are right now. We should be able to look at the problems that are going on and resolve them. When you're starting to get a lot of medical facilities, they're called dementia wards, coming out. Now, I worked in dementia, Alzheimer's and dementia, with age-concerned patients, and saw the whole structure of it. I was boots on all the different areas of it: caregiving, changing nappies, bathing, showering, the whole thing. And what I got to see was when the patients went in there with Alzheimer's and dementia, and they didn't know who they were and all of this, things they were taken advantage of.
Yeah.
If they looked at somebody wrong, it's a sexual harassment claim. Da 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 da, and it just went on and on and on. And some of these people have gone in there clean. They worked hard all their lives. They got a clean record and stuff. And one glance at a male patient looking at a female caregiver, suddenly now he's got a record. He doesn't even know he's got a record because he's already got Alzheimer's. But this other person, the caregiver making the claim, is going to get a payout. All right. And then there's a smudge on this person's name on his record, even though it's not with him. He's not aware of it. It's still a form of attachment. It's a energy harvesting. It's going to make the whole family that's concerned start having doubts, start going into, no, he wouldn't do this. But, putting that little 1% of doubt in somebody's mind can be like pulling a trigger. All right, it really can be. So being able to say, hey, look, that's not right what you're doing there, speaking up, but being able to speak up with compassion to begin with, and then making sure you put your foot in the ground and say, hey, look, what you're doing is not right. And I'm not standing on the shelf anymore, not saying anything, because you continually are practicing bad techniques, bad moral judgments, and you're making it dangerous for everybody else out there. And we're going to come to a point where all our government operations, agencies, tentacles, whatever you want to call them, they're going to show themselves. And I believe this is what is happening right now, because we've got the underground military bases are going crazy. We've got a lot of BS bullshit coming out about all these missing children. One thing that really irks me is, if we've got millions of missing children, where are the double millions of parents crying foul? Where are they coming out saying, this is what happened where my kid went missing? Why are the governments turning around and saying, okay, it doesn't matter, you can, you didn't have anything to do with your kid going missing, blah, blah, blah. This is utter rubbish. We've got so much technology out there that there is no reason for anybody to go missing on this planet. Same as murders. When it comes down to the, emotional unwellness, they know how to put the frequency out there, whether it's through the flashing lights you don't think are doing anything to you while you're asleep. But then when you wake up all craggedy and sore and nothing tastes right, and then you go to work and it's just a perpetual down level, making everybody around you feel lower and lower. The only way out of that sort of thing is to dark curtain your rooms. Make sure that this frequency isn't getting in. We hear it every now and then. We hear a frequency in the house, and we turn everything off to be able to analyze where the new frequencies are coming from. Whether it's a night light that's been put in at the other end of the house, so you can get through the house in the dark without tripping over everything. Oh, geez, yeah. Anyway, these are things. Become aware of what we are participating in. And the next lot that are coming in are going to be bombarded with everything that we're aware of, but in segments like we've had them and been able to unravel them. They're going to get them all. And they're not going to know which way's up or which way's down. I mean, half of us don't.
So one of the things that I've heard people talk about the DUMBs is when there is activity in them. Typically, you'll see a quake on the USGS quake map. And so far, the region that I found today is really between, it's like a triangle, kind of, sort of, between Turkey, Baghdad, like the edge of Kabul and Kazakhstan, and all the way over to, people probably have never even heard of this, is Addis Ababa. So that's kind of like over to by like Djibouti and all that. It's what strait? What do they call that strait? It's the um uh I don't know what you'd call it in Egypt, but it empties out into the Gulf of the Aden and the Arabian Sea. But anyway, you can go onto the USGS and you can see all these different quakes and stuff. And if you look for the ones that are 10K down, for a while there, it was a lot of activity over by the Kermadec Islands. That's north of where you guys are at.
Yeah.
In,
Yeah.
yeah, in New Zealand. Right now, I don't see a whole heck of a lot, because I would look at the total number of at 10Ks, and then I would look at the number of total quakes, and you can adjust what to look for in the time frame and all that. But the USGS, it's earthquake.usgs.gov. You can go to that website and look up their quake map. I'm particularly sensitive to it, so I have not really watched it a lot. When I was living in New Zealand, it was really horrible for me. I would sit there and say, "Hey, we had some quakes today." I would be sitting in a chair and I would feel it from the base of my spine, from where my backside touched the chair, and it would hit me right in the occiput, hit me right in the back of the head, and I would almost want to stand up. I took everything in me not to stand up, and I could feel those quakes, and I would go on to this website and I would see, yep, we got hit one. We got hit with one. It was a 3. It was a
Yeah.
2.5. So
Yeah.
I got really sensitive to a lot of that stuff when I was there, but up here, I don't remember ever having anything here in the States. And
Okay.
I'm in the Midwest, so it's kind of like, no, we don't really get those. But apparently, at some point, I think it was in the 80s, there was an earthquake, and some people actually felt it was hard enough that it shook the buildings. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, it was just like kind of a crazy thing. But one of those little things you can kind of keep a tabs on, and it can kind of help you figure out whether it's something that is, I don't know if there's anything such as a natural quake. It's
Yeah.
it's hard to discern, because it might just be the earth itself reacting to some of the inorganic activities that are going on. Just
Yeah.
put it that way.
Well, I was back in the day. I was watching early versions of 007, and I was on the, I think it was the RSS, and it would give you all of these different reports. It was the earthquakes, it was the storms, it was, all of these different uh, natural disasters that were going on, taking place. And then they changed it because of the traffic that they were getting, and then they broke it up into lots of little segments. They didn't want you to see everything that was going on. And so I still watched that, and I watched it when it was in the low, it was a regular around the, uh, uh, what is it, fire room? What?
Yeah, ring of fire.
Ring of fire, that's it, ring of fire. And what I know, when I will get an impression, I will get like vibrations that go through my body before the earthquake comes. And so I've been on doing some shows, and I've had an overflow of energy come in, and I'm like, holy shit, okay, I'm getting a message, I'm getting something coming in. Now, there's a difference between what I get. I'll get a frequency that's like, whoa, like this for me, and it'll show me where it's going to, which direction it's going to be in. But the 10K ones that go down, I have to say, I get a different feeling state, and I feel like that is man-made. It is a different feeling sensation that I get to the bone rattler feeling,
Yeah.
so it's like when I start getting those, you can actually follow them around the ring of fire. They go round and round and round. It's like, okay, where's the train running today? What
Yeah.
country? What country is that mega, the mega train going? Where is that? So,
Yeah.
and I look at, you can actually see, they say, well, this is the epicenter and this is the epicenter. So, if you've got something shooting around underneath the ground and it has to pull up in a hurry, you're gonna get this other backdraft energy that comes past it. Of course we're gonna get a little shaker, aren't we? That's just what happens when it pulls up. Welcome to the new lot that are coming in. I'm not sure how much longer we're going to be going on this, but this is a good rant today. This is
Yeah,
really,
it's been a hot minute, man. I think that we might have to do whatever works out for us. Because Stone and I are going to be even not geographically, but from a time perspective, we're going to be 18 hours ahead as of tomorrow here with the next 4 hours, 3 hours. We're going to have our time change, and you guys already did yours, so it's going to be 18 hours instead of 17. So we're still going to do our Friday night thing, but it's going to be earlier, an hour earlier here. So it'll start at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7. And as you go west, it's gonna hinge out in that direction, just so we can keep it for Stone and her activities on her Saturday at noon. So as far as that goes, though, I think it's important for us to keep in mind that we're doing this on the fly. We're kind of trying to make this work and trying to bring relevant conversations and context into what we're all trying to have to hang tough together with. The AI, whether it's what people perceive as in the sky or something that you see on your computer. Somebody sent me something that was AI today, and it was really cute and everything. But I think that's how they get their hook. That's how they get their hook into us, is doing the really cute stuff. And let's be careful with that. It's okay to do the cute stuff, but let's not allow them to have others who are using it for a little less benign. It's definitely being used for manipulation in the here and the now.
Oh yes.
I personally don't use it. I refuse. I refuse. And I don't give a rat's hiney hole whether or not people agree with that or not. It's not their choice. It's my choice.
Yeah.
You do whatever floats your etheric boat. But yeah, we're doing this on the fly. I don't know. We've talked about doing stuff just like for the whole freaking weekend, but it's up to Stone, because I'm available Friday evenings for me, and then Saturday and Sundays, and then for Stone it's obviously that following day. But that's all I got, man. I'm just trying to make things work. We got to get this. We got to get everybody talking, and we got to create this community. I think it's important. The community is really, really important, because we got a butt ton of topics that we could talk about.
Oh, we got to nut it out. We got to nut it out. I would like everybody in the chat room one day to just come on here, join in on a live round table, and we go through one topic if we can try to stay on topic.
Yeah, and the thing though too is talking about you don't have to be a big name. You don't have to be somebody who's popular. I think everybody has something relevant to put out into the ether that's beneficial. So for us to be able to do that for anybody and everybody, it's like, I think Stone, one time you did the whole I do that human encounters thing, and you did, that was like spur of the moment. I think that was the impetus. That was what started that whole thing. You're going, hey, I had this happen to me. It's like, ooh, that's really cool. So we just kind of did a recording, and I threw it out there. It was really, really good. It was like a weird thing. I don't remember. Did I pull cards on that? I can't even tell you what it was. But do you remember what I'm talking about? It was like, oh man, this is going on. This really sucks. Let's figure out what this is. And we did. I was like, can we record this. Let's record this. And we did. I threw it out there. I don't know what happened to it. Maybe it's not out there. I don't know. But that's the idea. By the seat of your pants.
Well, I'm here doing it because, we need to get the commonalities of the experiences out there. We got to be able to recognize the emotions that were triggered, our reactions, our response time. We're here to solve problems. And the only way we can do that is to step within ourselves and know who we are, and know what is right and wrong, and be aware. We allow that, it's not one or two sided, it's multi-dimensional sided, but there's you, there's them, and there's the in between those. For everything that we're doing here, there's many dimensions that are being affected by what we're doing. I'm here to make sure that I put that energy out there because I'm sick of the bullshit. I'm totally sick of the bullshit. And good people that I've known have gotten sucked into that wave or that river, that flow, and there's no coming back for them. They screwed themselves over. And it's like, we need to make sure that we stay here for, we stay in our best true selves. So, because this place is beautiful, this planet that we're on, if you want to call it planet, whatever label you want to put on it, this Eden for me is really awesome. To know I can go out there and communicate with a goat or a duck or a walking stick with thorns sticking out of it. Come on, this place is amazing. We don't need to go on Star Trek. We got it here right now. You want to talk to aliens and have all these paranormal, interactions. They're already happening to you. You just got to change your perspective of what it is that you're encountering, because it's a stuck state. It's a limited stuck state because you're going to break out of it. That's why I'm here. I'm sick of the bullshit, Yeah. It'll find you. If you're speaking out wrong, or you're putting in too much energy, it will find you and it'll say, hey, we don't want you here. You're this or you're that, da 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 da. But no, we're not going anywhere, guys. We're going to do it regardless of whether we're on the internet or whether we're off the internet. Okay, we're doing boots on the ground. We're starting to take care of who we are internally, externally. Okay, our spiritual selves. It's a warfare on every single level. And now we are the super soldiers saying, we can identify what you're doing. We can identify who you are, where it's coming from, and you're going to have all of that energy that you've put out on us back. So go and run into your little rat caves underground and do what you need to do. Go shit in a hole underneath your underground base, because it's over. It's over for yous. I don't want to call myself a light worker or any of that, but yeah.
I was really tempted. I might do some tomorrow, a little light work in the dark, as I would call it. So hey, there is a saying, if you are anybody who's played Assassin's Creed, that we work in the shadow to reveal the light. Seriously, we work in the shadow to reveal. So they kind of slink around and you have this hidey stuff that you do. But that's kind of this. It made me laugh because, yep, that's pretty much the whole philosophy. That's the whole idea of doing whatever you need to do and embracing whatever it is that you are to do something that's positive for where we're going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was
sounds like a commercial. I hope not.
No. I never even got through the first level of Assassin's Creed because I can't jump. Okay.
Oh.
I can't. No, just give me Skyrim.
Love it. I probably my favorite out of all of them is the Ezio trilogy. just the funnest ever because he could do. But then along came Odyssey, and he did that whole kick thing, and you could just kick somebody off the cliff. It's like, oh, you could sneak up on them and go. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no.
yeah, that's the twisted side of humanity that we will never get rid of. I'm sorry.
With the games as well, that's predictive programming as well. It's tapping into what your abilities are, what you're capable of doing. It's recording all your strikes, kicks, magic spells. It's recording everything. So,
And if you really watch them, you watch the storylines, you watch the stuff that goes on around you in those, there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can pick up on that's like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
that's what's happening now. They told us, because the thing about that whole Assassin's Creed thing is that you are in a regression state. You are this other character
yeah,
playing another character. How telling is that?
yeah,
Playing another character in this other realm and carrying out these duties. You get desynced if you fail in that mission, but you regenerate and go back to finish that issue because you didn't resolve your trauma.
uh,
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like
karma, karma.
it's the same. Yeah, it's the same story, but hey, it's all fun
Yeah,
and games,
yeah,
but it's very telling. It's very, very telling. Plus, the graphics are good enough that I feel like I've been there. I
yeah,
feel like
yeah.
I've been to Notre Dame because it kind of burnt, right?
Yeah, yeah. So okay, we'll wrap it up this time. But any ideas if you guys want to come into the room, let us know. PM us. Please sponsor us. I never do this. I'm not too good at doing this whole housekeeping part. Give us a like and a share. Come back, share your opinions and your whatever thoughts they are.
Put a
Because
comment. Put a comment once we're closed out of here because that really is helpful. I really appreciate Arizona. She did that for me today. It was really funny when I did the reading today on my channel. It was I don't plan this. It was 22 minutes 22 seconds.
well, yeah, a lot of commonalities in the numbers too. They're coming up a lot. I've got a lot. Like right now, it's 20. It's 2:21 p.m. on the 2nd of the 11th for me. So I get a lot of the twos right now. Okay, twos.
11, yep, 11/21, 11/1/2025, because it's
Yeah.
9 p.m. So do military time
Okay.
when you do the numbers here in the States. Please
Okay.
do. Makes
We've
a
got
difference.
okay, though anybody in the chat room who are doing a show or want to share your links, do it now so we can do a runner down the bottom there, and then we're going to move on. So this is about
Don't take that wrong. Don't do a runner, but do a runner.
yeah, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Thank you, Aussie Edge. You're 12:21. Yeah, it's 2:22 here, so it's like yeah. The game is afoot. Now
Yeah.
so next time we come round, I may be available tomorrow to do another spontaneous if you're about. And if you're interested in coming up, I mean, we've got room for, I think it said 10 people to come in. We work through Restream. So if you're keen and you've got some time tomorrow, jump in and just let's see where we go with it, because it's about nutting out the experiences and finding what is the commonality between us. What is your theory? Your speculation. How many times has your speculation changed of what it is that we're meant to be viewing out there in our so-called spaceways? So come and do that. Come and share some of your encounters that you've had and how it's opened you up to other energies that are coming in. What is your awakening journey? How has it made you aware, and is it working in your best interest? Share it, because there are others out there who are coming along, and that they might not have heard it. They might be keeping it to themselves, and you might have that key piece of the puzzle that opens them up. We're all in this together. We're here having this experience. We don't know where it's going to go, but let's make it something absolutely fantastic. Let's make this our utopia. All right. If we all get onto the same wavelength and we're doing the same work and we want to go in the same direction, if we have a picture in our mind's eye with clear intent, then we're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. So yeah. Okay. Now let's see what we've got over here. Any last words from you? Oh, we don't have a link. We need a link.
Well, we'll eventually get there. Just send a message, I think, is the safest thing to do. Just send, you can contact through Facebook, or if you go through the website, I don't know, Stone, you have a contact link in your webpage. I do personally. So you'd have to check out my webpage. Otherwise, you can just put a comment. Say, hey, I'm interested. Where can I contact you? And we can post that contact information there.
Yeah.
But I mean, my website and Stone's website, obviously in the roly poly, but both of us in our namesakes will have in our thingy dingy was our, yeah. Yeah, we're kind of there. No, that was evil. Oh my gosh. I don't know if anybody even knows what that was.
Okay, put it this way. Once upon a time, it used to be one finger, and then it turned to two, and then it turned to five. Okay,
No, it was read between the lines, and then you say it was five.
Read between the lines.
Read between
Don't
the
worry.
lines.
We'll educate you. Don't worry.
That too.
All right. With that little bit of banter, thank you, everybody. Just pick us up through the addresses down the bottom of the bar. We'll also put our bits and pieces onto our YouTube links and our RoughshodRamblings. You can find me also in Facebook, but you can hunt me down. Just look up Stone Hobbit. You'll find me. All right. So, any last words, Auric? Thank you, everybody who came and
Bits and
participated.
pieces. I'm careful when I use that phrase, bits and pieces.
Bits and pieces.
Yes.
Well,
yeah, I mean, hey, just keep
right.
it between the ditches and make sure you're aware of your surroundings. Just look after yourselves, and if you do need help, reach out to somebody. That's important. That's been kind of a theme recently, and people have been telling me they've been scared to reach out, or they just don't feel motivated, even though they want to be, somewhere other than here on the earth plane. Just going to put it that way. That's a real thing for a lot of people who are not able to manage their own, awareness. There are people that do need help with kind of doing that side of their life. But other than that, it's just keep it between the ditches and be good to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Make good memories. Say thank you to yourself. Give yourself a bit of appreciation. All right. And on that note, yes, Susan will be more than likely on the panel when we do this. Definitely. And Ange, Aussie Ange, if you want, we'll work out a time. Definitely come on. And anybody else that wants to come in, we want to have you. All right.
And one of the other things we kind of talked about too, because some of the time differences between us and some of our guests, is that there might be a consideration of doing something that is recorded to accommodate the time shift. But yeah, I mean, there is a time difference change, whatever, we all have to, rise and go to bed at certain times, but it's a good way to kind of look at it. And then we can always be there for a premiere and, during the live, whenever it's posted. But yada.
Absolutely. We've got one more message here. Where is it? Yep. All right. There we go. We'll probably do some readings next time round as well, Jay. So do come back for that and, come in and join in for a card reading. So thank you, everybody. Catch you up tomorrow at Jay Skyrunners show that he's doing with Maya, I believe. So have a good evening and be nice to yourself, and we will see you next time round, probably tomorrow. All right.